clients into business, just helping you kind of know how to go about that. So I'm gonna silence myself, and you got the floor.
Awesome. Hey guys, welcome. I have not had the pleasure of meeting any of you except Brad and Krista. So hello. Wish we were meeting in person, but this will suffice. Looks like we have Akiko, Melissa, and Alex. Is that right, or do we have more than that? That's just the three, correct? Awesome. Okay. And just so I have a clear picture, are we brand new agents, or have we been in the business for a bit?
Yeah. So I'm sorry, maybe you couldn't hear me. So Alex has been here at least 4 years. He was here when I was
Oh,
on
awesome.
board. And then Melissa has been here about a year and a half, and Akiko has just onboarded, so brand new agent, and we're super excited to have her here. So you have kind of some of everything. Um,
That is awesome. Awesome. I'm going to, um, I can share the screen, but we'll talk about this just a little bit first. And I'm going to act as though you guys are currently working with buyers, even though you're not. It's just a little bit easier sometimes to set a starting point. So some of the things that we always want to find out, and I always joke and say that working with buyers is a lot like dating. It's about finding out information a lot of times about where somebody wants to be, where they want to go, how fast they want to be there, etc. And a lot of times, like I said, it's like dating. You kind of want to find out about the person. So if I were dating someone, let's say I was going to date Krista, I would always want to know, what's your name, what's your full name, all those kind of things, so that I can address her properly. Where is she looking to go? If Krista's going to move out of the area in the next month or so, I probably wouldn't waste my time dating with her, right? Because she's going to be gone. Why bother building a long distance relationship? So the questions that we're going to ask, and I'm going to share 50 questions with you guys today, top 50 questions. The questions I'm going to share with you guys today are truly to start digging in with your buyer clients to figure out two things: what's their timing and what's their motivation. In other words, where do they want to go, and how fast do they want to be there, or how fast do they need to be there? And a lot of times, what you're going to find is when we start going through these questions, you'll find that your clients, your buyers, are not quite ready to buy. They're really looking for something in the future. Um, they might have seen an open house sign that they saw. They really wanted to go take a look at it. And a lot of times the listing agent will say must be pre-approved. And so they'll go get a pre-approval really quick. And so we just want to know where they're at. And at the end of the day, I have lots of friends, colleagues in my neighborhood to this day that love to go look at houses. And so they'll call me up and say, "Hey, Darren, I saw an open house. Can we meet at it?" And I know they're not going to go anywhere, but I do know that when the next time they do make a move, they're going to call on me. So it's an investment of time. We just want to know where they are with time. So without further ado, I'm going to share the screen, but we're going to go through a lot of these things. Let me see if I have it on my opportunity here. I don't. Hang on a minute. Let me get it propped up so I have it ready to go. Okay, here it is right here. All right, let's try one more time. Share screen, window, there it is. All right, and I will definitely share these with you, but I want to certainly go through this together first, and then I will share this with Krista. Krista, you can distribute this any way you want. When I had offices and we started doing trainings on working with buyers, what we did is we said, "Hey, why don't you go to the best places, go to all the different coaching seminars you can go to, and I want you to write down the best questions." And these are some questions that came through back to our class and back to our office. So this is going to be a mixture of Brian Buffini stuff, Todd Duncan stuff on the mortgage side. It's going to be stuff on the on the Mike Ferry, Tom Ferry, every kind of coach you can think of. These are the questions they would ask, and we just put together the 50 best. So each one of these has a reason. We're going to go through this fairly quick. We don't have to do this all day, but certainly I want to go through the top couple, and then we're going to stop and we're going to pause on those. We're going to go through why those are important. Okay. All right, here we go. Full name of buyers, current address, clarify house, condo, apartment, or other. Number two is an important piece for me. The reason why I want to know the current address and whether or not it's a house, townhouse, condo, or apartment is I want to know if this is an upgrade, a downgrade, or a move across. In other words, are we moving from a apartment into a townhouse? Okay. Are we moving from an apartment into a condo? It's going to be the same type of living. They're going to be used to people above them, below them, on the side of them if I'm in a condo or possibly in a townhouse. If they're moving from an apartment into a house, we're going to point out some things to them that they may not be aware of. One, you're going to take care of the paint yourself, all that kind of stuff, right? Make sure they know what they're getting into. Best contact and email address, that's kind of self-explanatory. Number four, best contact phone number. Do you prefer call, emails, or text communications? Why is this important? Number five, this is a big one. When I'm transferring this over to Brad, who's going to be our lender of choice in this particular model, when I transfer this over to Brad, I want Brad to know all of these things. Hey, Brad, I'm going to transfer to you, Krista. She only likes to be text. Don't call her. Don't send her an email unless you have to. And make sure she knows that if you're going to send her an email, it has to be signed through DocuSign through an email. It can't be done through text. In other words, give her the reason why I'm going to communicate with you slightly different, Krista. And I find if we at least alert the client to that, and then alert Brad to that, our partner, then we're going to know immediately, or he's going to know immediately, and the client's going to know immediately, more important, that we're all working together to create a really nice, smooth, easy transaction for them. Okay, we're going to go to the next one. What's your availability throughout the week for showings? Oh, well, I work nights, which means I go to sleep from 3 o'clock in the afternoon to 8. Please don't call me. Great. Another thing, I'm going to alert my partner, Brad, and say, hey, Brad, this guy is our gal, she works at night, has the night shift. She's a nurse. Do me a favor, try to reach her before 3 p.m., right before she goes to bed, because she's going to be asleep. Next one is going to be, are you looking for a single family house, townhouse, condo, or multifamily home? How long you've been looking for a new home? This is important. You want to know if you're the first real estate agent or you're the 10th real estate agent they've worked with, right? So, well, I've been looking for a house for years. Oh, well, tell me about that. Well, I've been looking for a house for years because my agents don't want to put up with me after 3 months. Oh, okay. I know you're going to be a long-term client. Really important we get these things. Again, it's going to yield towards my timing and motivation right here. How long you've been looking for a home? I just started. Fantastic. Now I can go right into that to the next question, which is, how soon are you looking to purchase your new home? Number 10. So number 10 is really important. How soon? Well, my lease is up on the 1st of next month. Well, do you have another place to go? Because it's now December 9th. We're not going to be able to close on a house more than likely between now and January 1st. Are you prepared to go an extra couple of months? Oh, yes, I've talked to my landlord, and they're going to let me go for another month or two. Oh, okay, great. Now we know the leaning questions. I'm going to stop here just for a minute, and let me move this over just a little bit. The three that are on the phone, Akiko, I hope I pronounced that right, Melissa, and Alex, if you guys can unmute yourselves for just a minute, I want to ask a question, and I want to see where we're at with something. Try to unmute yourselves if you can. Alex did. Akiko did. Melissa, go ahead. Here's the question. How soon are you looking to purchase your new home? Now, we all know that's an important question. I hope you guys are answering it. But what I want to get from you guys and what I'm looking for an answer is, what are answers that you get when you ask that? How long have you been looking for a new phone? Any of you guys want to chime in?
Yeah, well, usually you don't get a straight answer unless you have a situation with a rental or maybe somebody that's motivated to move the kids to a new school, then yeah, you kind of have a straight answer. But in
Yeah,
general, you don't get a straight answer all the time.
perfect. That's exactly what I was looking for. You absolutely don't get a straight answer. And so these questions, and why I want to stop there, thank you, by the way, Alex, for chiming in. Why I want to stop there is you can ask all these questions, and this is the very first one that you're not going to get a straight answer from, right? What's your name? Oh, my name is Alex. Oh, okay, great. I can get that. Do you want to be communicated by text, email, etc.? Those are all easy. But when you ask the question, how long have you been looking for a new home? That's where our buyers start going a little bit sideways. And here's where we want to make some notes that we want to really dig into number 11. Are you under any time constraints to relocate? In other words, is your rent due next week? Is is your lease come to term next month? Some people will never tell you that. Some people will tell you a different story at that point, and they'll say, I have no constraints. I'm on a month to month. I can get out of my lease at any time. And I had a client actually tell me that one time, and I was really excited about it until we got into escrow and found out they couldn't break their lease. It was dollars to break their lease. And when they wanted to break their lease and the cost of money to break their lease, they didn't have enough money for the down payment / closing cost. And so why we want to dig in here slightly longer and spend a little more time here is we want to make sure that this isn't going to cost us any of our commission or any of the lender's commission trying to get these people to close on a house. Does that make sense? We want to be good partners here. All right, I'm going to go ahead and keep moving forward if you guys are okay with that. And how long you've been looking for a new home, how soon are you looking to purchase next home, and then we get down to number 11, which is, are you under any time constraints to relocate? Super important. That question we're going to spend time on. We may have to go a little bit deeper on that. If they say, no, I'm on a month to month, great. How long have you been on a month to month? That's a good follow-up question. After they answer that, what's the next question we could ask? Well, fantastic. And if we don't find a house within 6 months' time or 3 months' time, what type of a problem is that going to pose upon you? Again, I'm looking for timing and motivation. And if they come back and say to me, well, Darren, it really doesn't matter. I'll know when I find the right house, that's when I'm going to make a decision. I'll buy the house. Okay, that's a really tough one. But if you've been in the business at all, Krista, you could probably back me up on this. You're going to get that one a lot. When I see the right house, I'll know and I'll be ready to buy. And that's a real tough one. I'll give you guys some hints on that in just a few more questions. Next one's super simple, number 12. Do you have a home you have to sell before moving into a new one? That's going to be a really basic one. Typically, where somebody lives, I have my title rep pull title on that house to see who owns it. I want to make sure that they don't own it, because if they own it, when I get them over to Brad, he's going to have a little bit more work to do, because more than likely they're trying to buy another house while keeping this house. Okay. Number 13 is a backup. This is another great way to get your seller of that house to move faster into the buying of that house, the new house. So do you have a home to sell before moving to the new one? That's number 12. Number 13 is the follow-up. Great. If so, do you have a short list of interested buyers? I can get them pre-approved right now with my lender partner, and then we can start looking for houses because we know we already have a buyer. Okay. Next one, 15, not a big one. What do you not like? 16, 17, 18. None of this stuff is that much of a bother. These are great questions to ask your borrower and your buyer, just to make sure that you're looking in the right spot. But again, this is not going to be my time and motivation. The time motivation is going to happen with that 11, 12, and 13. You get down to features and aesthetics. Again, these are all things that are great to talk to your client about. The one question I would absolutely add into this, and that is, we'll call it number 29 and a half, okay, is what specifically is something that you absolutely have to have? And another 29 and 3/4 would be, give me one thing that you absolutely don't want. And you're going to ask this to both the husband and wife or the spouses. The reason why you want to do that is because one spouse may think that one thing's important and the other one may think that something else is important. But I always want to know at least one thing that they absolutely have to have in the house and one thing they certainly don't want in the house. Anybody guess why I would say that?
Can I chime in?
You sure can.
Okay, so I'll give you an example. Something that they absolutely don't want. Some areas some neighborhoods in the area here have large power lines going through the back of the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Back fence, and there's an open space. Well, yes, there's open space, and you look on a map, it says open space, but you get in the neighborhood and there's a giant power line going across the backyard, and some people that freaks them out. So you just need to be aware of, what their cannot have kind of questions are. Not near a busy street, power
Yep.
line in the backyard, whatever. Or sometimes they, like for instance, physicians, they have to be within a certain radius of a hospital.
Correct.
So those are really important things to know.
Yeah.
The non-negotiables.
Yeah, non-negotiables. And here's one of the reasons why I use the non-negotiable. I sometimes, and thank you both for chiming in, I certainly want to, and this is going to sound really funny, I'm going to beat them over the head with what it is they said they can't live without. In other words, Krista, we're going to go out shopping today. Number one, I hope you have your earnest money deposit ready to go, that you've met with Brad and have the pre-approval. And of course, I'm not going to put anybody in the car unless they have met with Brad, but just in case, right? So I want to make sure that you've done those two things, but I want to know more importantly, and I want to make sure you understand this, we're probably going to see the house of your dreams today. It's going to have that 3-car garage with the attic in it with the pull down ladder that you said it was an absolute non-negotiable. You had to have that. And I just want to make sure that we're prepared to buy that house today. Now, the reason why is because I know I'm going to show them a house. I'm going to show Krista that house that has that. And I want to make sure I'm going to write an offer on that house today. So if I know what the non-negotiable is, and I have the opportunity of using that, I don't want to say against them, that sounds mean, but I want to be able to use that as a selling point. When I see that, I want to make sure I hit Krista. And here's why, guys. I want to know how much of a non-negotiable that is. She might have told me that, but that may not be real. And so if I go out and show her that house and she says, okay, I like the house, but it's not exactly what I wanted, and I use that well, you said you wanted the 3-car garage with that pull down ladder in it so you could store things in your attic. Yeah, but realistically, I didn't like the color of carpet. Oh, okay. So our real non-negotiable is that your color of carpeting is more important than that. Well, not necessarily, right? And so now we're going to start getting the real truth out of them. So those are two questions, 29A and B, or 29 and a half, 29 3/4, whatever you want to call it. Those are certainly, we definitely want to have.
I think a great way to put that, Darren, is you're also creating that verbal contract.
Yeah.
That now you're able to take that verbal contract in their own context of words and then turn it back to get those and dig deep into those pain points that you just described.
Well said. Well said. Everybody get that? Everybody understand the verbal contract? They've admitted it. They've used it. If they're not telling you the truth, as Brad would say, dig a little deeper, peel the onion back slightly, maybe 1 or 2 more layers, and get the real benefit out of it. Financial questions, price range, number 36. Do you have a monthly payment in mind? Again, Brad will have gone through this with your client all the way through. You've been pre-approved by a lender. One of the reasons why number 37 might not have happened is, I'll tell you, be honest, what a lot of times I do open houses, and client will come through right then and there, and I will try to get Brad on the phone immediately and say, hey, Brad, I got a guy that wants to go see a house for $400. Can you ask him a couple of questions? I just want to make sure he's good to go. And Brad will ask him 4 or 5 questions. He probably won't take a full 10:03, but he's going to give me a clear picture whether or not this guy is even in the ballpark to buy a house? And if he is, then I can throw him in the car. We'll go take a peek at it. Go down to number 40. So real estate experience. Working with first-time buyers, obviously, you're going to be significantly different. Timing and motivation are typically going to be different. I've never worked with a first-time buyer that had to be out of a place by a certain time. And typically it was the motivation. I want to move out of mom and dad's house. I'm getting married and I don't want to live at my parents' house. I'm getting married. I don't want to live in an apartment. I'm having a kid with my girlfriend and I don't want to live in the apartment, right? So the motivation is going to be a life change, which is going to typically be different from a first-time home buyer than maybe someone like myself who has moved through all my kids and I'll be looking to downsize at some point, okay? We can scroll down a little bit further. I like number 44. Again, this is going to be a really interesting piece. Have you ever worked with a real estate agent in the past? So I want to know who they've worked with in the past. So if this is not the first time buying their house or a first time buyer, I may ask them specifically, why aren't you using Joe Blow, the real estate agent? And a lot of real estate agents are afraid to ask that because they're afraid that as soon as they hang up the phone with me, they're going to call Joe Blow. But there's a reason why they're not working with Joe Blow. And that's one of the things you want to find out. Again, it yields to that, well, this is my 10th year looking at a house in the same area with 10 different real estate agents. Probably not going to be a great client for you. Okay. Number 47, always something works for me. Are you currently interviewing other real estate agents? I want to know what my competition is. Okay. And then finally, how did you find me? Number 50. Okay. And then this is something that I use and why these questions are important. This is the very, very last piece of this, and I'll forward this over to Krista so she can send it to you guys. What's the purpose of the questionnaire? One, you need to find out, can they trust you? Number two, they need to know about that you care about them. And then finally, that can you help them? And can you help them is a loaded question. You cannot help someone that's not motivated to move, right? It's impossible to help them. And the trust part is typically going to be found out as well during that timing and motivation piece. Does that make sense to you guys? All right. So these are real basic. Now, let's just say, guys, that we don't have a timing and motivation. We have a timing motivation problem. In other words, this client is not really motivated, but we don't know that at first. What is one of the first ways you can find out if a client is motivated or not? I'd love to hear from either Akiko, Melissa, or Alex. How can we, the very first thing that, well, let me back up. There's a forward question to this. So I meet a buyer and I meet him at the grocery store and we have a few phone conversations. What's the first thing I want that buyer to do? What's the first action step they need to take in order to see how motivated they are? Alex went off mute. What you got for me?
Usually I try to get the buyer to get a pre-qualification or pre-approval, something.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Yep. So I'm going to go even further backwards than that because we love to give our lender partner, Brad, every opportunity, and I definitely want to do that. What other questions can you ask that borrower before we even get them to Brad? Give me 4 or 5 questions you can ask.
Well, usually I ask question about the situation, like where are you living now? Are you renting? What makes you want to move or buy a home? What else?
I have a really easy one for you, and thank you, Alex. You're doing a great job. Here's my question I ask. Hey, Alex, you're renting a property right now, or do you own a property?
Okay, I own a property.
You could say you could just say, oh, I'm renting a property right now. Okay.
Okay, I'm renting a property. Yeah,
Okay, fantastic. What is your mortgage or your rent that you pay right now?
2,700.
2,700. Fantastic. And are you comfortable with that number, or is that too much, or could you go even higher?
I could go a little higher, but it's pretty high right now. Just to be
Yeah,
frank.
yeah, I get that. $2,700 is a lot. Hey, Brad, $2,700 would buy you how much today? Normal
Not
3%
much.
more. Yeah, not
Not
much,
much
right?
here in
No,
Orange
no.
County or or
So,
California, period.
yeah. So you're gonna die, but I sit at a 2.5% interest on my house, and that would pay for my house all day long, right? But let's face it, Brad's right. We're in a whole different world these days, and that ain't gonna buy you too much, right? So if I were to look at $2,700, you're probably looking at I don't know,
Yeah,
$300,000 house,
350. Yeah.
350.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, why is this important for me to know? Well,
Because
yeah,
go on, go
go
on.
ahead, Alex. Why is it
To me,
important?
it's like maybe you're motivated to move, but you can't even afford to. So
There you go. So I want to move. I'm just unrealistic with my life. And I look, so when I ask Alex, hey, what are you paying now? Oh, I'm paying 27. Oh, okay, that's your rent. Yeah, you're going to get a little bit of mortgage deduction, maybe a little of this, that, but quite frankly, the standard deduction is so high now that your mortgage interest deduction isn't going to help. So 2,700 is probably the max. Great. That's the $350,000 house. And you want to look at these houses that are 500,000. Let me ask you a question, Alex. Do you have an angel investor or an angel that's going to give you $150,000? And if the answer is no, now I have not a motivation problem, I have a timing problem. And that timing problem is going to take me into, well, when do you think you're going to have that kind of money? Or are you getting a raise anytime soon? And Alex might come back and say, well, as a matter of fact, I'm marrying a billionaire and it's going to be no problem. I mean, right, I'm joking around. It could be anything. Who knows what's going to happen? But this should bring to you the questions that we want to raise. So number one, tell me about where you live now. Okay, can you tell me what that rent payment is? And you might even joke, man, I know apartments are so expensive these times, in this day and age. Ha ha ha, right? You can say all kinds of things. And the minute you hear that number, I want you to have a couple of things in mind. I want you to know, and Brad can help you with this. I want you to know what a $300,000 mortgage payment is. I want you to know what a $350,000 mortgage payment is and a $400,000 mortgage, if that's what you commonly work in. And the reason is you're going to know instantaneously whether or not you've got a guy or a gal or a couple that can actually buy a house. And then the follow-up question is that is great. How are you going to come up with the extra $100,000 that you need down? Now, what we can do, Alex, because you want to buy a house, and I can appreciate that, is we can start looking at a different area. Is there a different area that you like? Now we're going to find out more about motivation and timing. Well, I'm a doctor and I can only be 2.5 square miles. Okay, now I not only have a motivation problem, I have a timing problem because I know darn good and well there's nothing in that area that Alex is ever going to be able to buy. And I'm going to put that person maybe on the back burner. I'll keep sending them properties, keep in touch, put in my drip campaigns. Does that make sense to you guys? Krista, does that make sense to you?
Yeah,
yeah,
and sometimes
Okay.
when I hear what their income is, I'll say, is there anyone else who's helping you with a down payment or something
Right.
along those lines to kind of figure out, okay, is there bank of mom and dad being involved in this as well? Like
Yes.
maybe it's not just their income, but
Yes.
selling stock or whatever it's going to be, where's that money coming from? Because
Yes.
sometimes they won't volunteer that information. They'll just kind of sit on that.
Yeah. Now, the last thing I'm going to cover, we're done in just 2 seconds here, is this, and that is understanding your client in this arena, and then being able to transfer this information to Brad is going to help in a couple of different ways. you would be surprised to know that your clients are looking for a team, and they're looking for a great team to work together with. If your clients know, and because Brad is going to reiterate to your clients on the phone, oh, hey, Alex, I see that you're looking for a house in that $300,000 area, 350, great. You're used to paying $2,700 a month rent, great. And your mom and dad are going to chip in $100,000, great. I know all this stuff. It's going to make my life much easier. Let's get to your client is going to love that you, the realtor, have had the interaction with your lender enough that your lender knows this is going to be a great deal. Does that make sense? And it gives him the ability to say, here's where I see a challenge, instead of finding out all the things that are really, really hard to find out. Because we know as realtors, it's kind of weird. They come to us before they come to lenders. And I never understood that, right? They don't go to a lender first and let me get pre-qualified. They always come to the real estate agent. Hey, I want to see that house on 123 Happy Street. And then I kind of think, well, it's kind of like the Ferrari dealership, right? When I go to the Ferrari dealership, which I never do, but if I did, I just want to sit in that Ferrari. I don't want to be financed for it. I just want to sit in it. Now we just need to find out if I can afford the Ferrari and when I'm going to buy the Ferrari. Does that make sense to you guys? All right. Any questions for me? I hope you guys found this a little bit enlightening. Yes, no? Awesome.
Yes, very
Yeah,
helpful.
yeah.
Thank you.
Questions?
What I'm going to do is I'm going to forward those questions over to Krista. She can do whatever she wants to those. Hopefully she sends them over to you. Again, guys, these are just questions. Fill in a few more and then go a little deeper on them. And I think once we have some of these things done, we're able to get clients over to Brad, your partner, and he's able to, move them through the process back to you. But knowing that time and motivation is going to be key on this. Okay? All right. Any questions for me?
Great information, Darren. Thank you
Awesome. You
for
bet.
sharing.
You bet. Anybody else?
Good. I appreciate that. And I think it's really helpful to have that framework to work from, and then they can put in their own.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, and it keeps them from, spinning their wheels, chasing people that aren't qualified.
Correct. That's the most important piece right
And
there.
to your point, Darren, too, if they hand it over without doing these qualification aspects, they send it over to me and then they go dark because they're not ready to be sold on financing yet. And that's where then, it just all these, people then just go by the wayside. And that's just largely in part because we didn't get to the nitty gritty of where they are in the process.
Yeah,
I love
the
that. Well said.
other part of that is if we don't prepare them and ask those questions, then when they get to Brad and Brad starts digging in and they're like, oh, I don't want to talk to that guy because I'm embarrassed because I don't have one.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right?
You're
So
100% right on that one, too.
Embarrassed is exactly the right word.
You don't want Brad to be the bad guy. And so you need to make sure that when we send them to Brad, that he looks like the hero, like, hey, I'm going to help you because I understand you need this, this, and this. Not, oh, I'm sorry, I can't help you with that because of these things we didn't know. Right?
You got it.
Brad looks like the bad guy, and we don't want that.
You got it. Well said, guys. I appreciate you guys. Crystal, I'll send the paperwork over so you've got it, and appreciate your time, guys.
Thank you so much.
Great seeing everybody. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, great info. I will send that out as soon as the recording is done. So
Yep.
probably be first thing tomorrow. We'll shoot that out to you guys. Any other comments on what you saw?
Nope.
Cool. Well, hopefully we see you guys tomorrow.
Good deal. Yeah, I'd love to see you tomorrow at BJ's 4 to 6. We'll be hanging out. Have a great day, guys.
See ya.
Bye-bye.